Here we go. Another episode of Sandy the Landy. Enjoy it. Comment, feedback, subscribe if you can. I appreciate some of you guys watching this on telly, but please subscribe. Radio's off, I'm afraid, chaps. Shostakovich has been lobbing copyright strikes at me, believe it or not. Anyway, I cleaned up the battery tray. So this is a battery and the air cleaner tray. It sits here, like that. And there's a tray that goes inside it. Now, this whole thing was covered in plasticoat, which had largely lifted, and some bits of it you can see in quite poor condition. So I'm going to give that a quick going over with the wire brush in a minute. Quite a lot of it has come off really like this. I'll check the horn works and so forth. That's the piece of the end of the dash that goes over the wiper motor. So it goes in over here. See, it's nice. I've treated the rust on it. I think I might have done this earlier on in this video. I don't know, because it's another day now. Weird, someone's parked at the top of the hill up there. We've closed the main road today, so we've got all the bloody traffic coming through. I've also had an idea about recovering the dash top. Now, I saw on one of the fellow Land Rover restorers, Britannia Restoration, he did a recovering job on a Defender lower dash area. He did the top dash as well, but I'm not too bothered about the lower dash on my car. It's the top dash which is looking a bit decrepit. Now, I found a 4-way stretch fabric. I think Britannia Restoration, they used a snowmobile seat cover. Not much call for that in the UK, but Martrim do a 4-way stretch, but it's just plain. So I'm going to have a look at that and see what that's like. I'll measure the width of that and see if we can get some of that done. They also do because of course it needs to be UV resistant, and also you need to have some very strong glue. So this is the stuff I traditionally used for headlining. Mr. Gravity, for headlining. This stuff is good. High performance Martrim contact adhesive. And I think this performs quite well in the heat department as well. What does it say? It exhibits high temperature resistance up to 80 degrees C. We'll see. What else have I been up to? Sniffy, sniffy, sniff, 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 sniff. Oh yeah, I've started to... So I've lost one of my wing brackets. So these fellas, these chaps, I don't know how I managed to lose it. They support the trailing edge of the wing. So if you look at the back end of a Land Rover wing, you'll see there's a hole there, and there's normally a bolt goes through it. That bolt goes into this, and this secures here like that. Okay, lost one. I didn't even bother looking online, but because I can make one of these, it's not a problem. So I've just cut a piece of steel out. There we are. Cut a piece of steel out, marked out where the holes are. I'll drill the holes through, make sure everything lines up, trim it up, blah 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 blah, bend it the other way. So it goes that way round, and that'll do the passenger wing, because the fan has arrived. MGB blower motor. Yeah, MGB and Land Rover. And the MGB fan versus the Land Rover fan. Very cack-handed today. Exactly the same. It is exactly the same, and it fits in as well. So there you go. My top tip for the day is, when your blower motor packs up, don't panic into buying brand spanking new. Get yourself a working used item from an MGB. They're much more sheltered. They're in a much more sheltered position on the MGB, because I think they're up against the bulkhead behind the engine. Whereas on the Land Rover, they're kind of a little bit exposed to road elements and so forth. So there you go. Top tip of the day, MGB heater motor. The rest of this is all getting a bit of a shambles up here. I need to have a good old tidy up. But today I wanted to get this outer wing on this side. Largely because things like brake fixings haven't arrived yet. I've got the electrical parts all done. The loom is all now bound up. I haven't got the parts to finish off the thermostat, so I'm going to get this wing lined up. I'm going to paint all of the various bits. I've got to paint this, put an epoxy primer, 2-pack epoxy primer over it to seal the metal, and then I'm going to just rattle can it satin black, because I haven't got any Rust-Oleum or anything like that. I'm going to paint this as well, give this a good coating of paint. I shall mask off the copper hoses, because I don't want to paint those, because otherwise the rust will stick. Sorry, the paint will stick to the hoses. Take this panel off here. This is the fan shield. Not too bothered about the top up here. This is all nice patina up here. We don't really want to kind of lose that. It's just me being lazy. Knowing when to stop, I think, is what it is. Because otherwise I'll end up just painting the whole thing. And yeah, so the radiator can actually go on once I've just sprayed the top of this bulkhead here, because it's all hidden by it then. Yes, getting places. We are getting places. Right, let me crack on with this, and I can put the radio back on again and try and monetize this channel. And we don't have to worry about copyright strikes from 200-year-old dead composers. Well, I suppose it's probably the conductor, or it's the Deutsche Grammophons, or whoever it is that are saying, no, 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 copyright strike, blah, 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 blah. So even the screw holes line up. Nicely done. The one thing I have found about this, and this is probably the reason why it failed in the first place, it's a very, very close fit to the outside of the casing, and because of the rust we've got around the bottom there, it has blown, specifically there. The rust has blown, and it's caused the inner casing just to stretch out a tiny bit, which is possibly what happened here. So it ran, contacted, shat itself, because you can see it shat itself, may have locked up tight, burnt itself out. Doesn't smell burnt out though. Maybe it just stopped working, and then they didn't bother investigating. Whoever the previous owner was, previous owner didn't bother investigating. So, to hell with it, and then left it. That's probably the root cause of the failure. So before this goes in, I need to just address the issues. What I'm going to do with this, by the way, I'm not going to go berserk on it. I'm certainly not going to go anywhere near it with a welder. I'm going to cut a piece of steel out, and I'm going to pop rivet it into place. Okay, cut this out first of all, pop rivet a piece of steel in, and then use some dum-dum or something just to seal the gaps around the edges. So it becomes effective and it works. You won't be able to see it from the outside of the vehicle because it's pointing in the downward direction. And I think that will suffice. That will do the job. And then treat the rust inside and out. Paint it, assemble it, be done with it. Cheap, cheerful, effective. Right, let's get on with this. Deliveries coming. So I've got all the bits to put the back hub together, which is good news. The steering arm, but the passenger side beer mount is back on. Look at that. Beautiful, eh? Fits straight back on, no problems at all. Mind you, I haven't really adjusted that much apart from the bulkhead end. I've got a new galv splash panel. That's in. I still haven't got the tools to finish off the brake bleeding yet. I've drilled the holes out there for the motor to stand on, the heater motor. That's been about it really. That's been most of my day. I'm pleased to have got, the target was to get the beer stand back on the vehicle, which I'm actually quite pleased about. Now I'm going to get on with, because this parcel's only just arrived, I've got the bits to do the thermostat. It's 25 to 6. The good news is though I can start routing things through. I need to pop rivet that back on. It's falling off. Things are coming together. Be able to do an electric test. I've ordered some paint. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Rust-Oleum. It's a bit like an American version. Rust-Oleum? It might be American. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Rust-Oleum is quite good for just painting over bare metal. So I've treated all the rust on this, and that's responded reasonably. Just give them a lick of paint. And likewise with all these other bits down here, apart from those two clips, other bits down here. Been kind of just sorting out, de-rusting and so forth. There's me brake drum up there. Brand spanking new heater hose that goes from the heater, or goes from the blower into the heater. What else arrived today? Some unobtainium arrived today. Well, I thought it was unobtainium. This should make me laugh. Okay, so what we've got here is the hub seals, genuine hub seals. I thought, well, you know what, let's balance the phone. That'll do. Balance phone, balance, right, okay. So these are hub seals from the back of the car, made in India. Pretty sure that the other ones I've got were also, no problem at all, made in India, but I'm just, because I paid a premium for a OE part as opposed to a pattern part. I'm chasing my arse around the shed now, looking for the other seals are heater hoses. Empty, empty. Oh, it's a fucking ball's ache, isn't it? I don't even know what I've done with them. Hubs, Range Rover bits. I had a box full of hub parts. There we are. Series 3. Hub seals and gaskets. Oh, oh. So what I wanted to do here was compare these £2.99 seals with the Land Rover item. I reckon they're going to end up being exactly the same. So what have we got on here? There's the maker's mark up there. And there is the maker's mark there. So there you go. I reckon those are exactly the same part. Only one cost you £8 and one cost you £1.50. I just thought I'd do it for shits and giggles, you know. Right, steering arm. So I've got the track rod ends. Just need to thread those in and I can fit that. Lots of copperies. Oh, don't mind if I do. Other beers are available. Right. Oh, yes. Ignoring the paint and the paint differences, check out the lines on this thing. It's as straight now as it was when I first got it, which I'm pleased about because the bulkhead's obviously had extensive work to it. Okay, so completely different colour. Shit happens. But yeah, it's what a marvellous, straight, fabulous machine. I'm going to put this wing on later on, but the key objective today was to put this wing on, get everything all sorted out with the mud shields and so forth, which you've already seen. Steering's on now, so I've got the steering tie rod in between the two hubs. That's on. I need to fill the hubs up, and then I can get that all sorted out. I'm waiting for oil to come for the engine. That's all going to tie up nicely with me getting the battery tray painted, installed, the thermostat installed, all of the hoses, cooling system filled up, the rear hub rebuilt, and yeah, we're going to get this thing started and drive it out. Drive it out of the barn. Yes, love it. Great fun. bung this hub together, giving it a bit of a clean off. Joy's cleans it up beautifully. Got all the ancient deposits of shite off it. Oh dear. My dad just popped in, told me he was using the story. So the pub I drink in up on Exmoor, obviously it's been locked down, and it's in the middle of bloody nowhere. So the landlord, he's got a Facebook page, and he's a bit of a character anyway. He's a lot of a character. And he's just put on Facebook, you know, to the incredibly kind person that leaves me food on my doorstep every morning, and brings tears to my eyes. Please, can you stop doing it until you learn how to cook? So I'm thinking, it's a bit awkward, isn't it? Anyway, someone responded straight back saying, no, the food's for Fred the cat. You couldn't make this shit up. Right, okay, just a quick visual inspection of the bearings. It did make me laugh. Sometimes you need a laugh. Anyway, so visual inspection of the bearings. They're Timken jobbies, made in England. They appear to be good order. The inner bearing is larger than the outer bearing on these series hubs. Land Rover ones, I think they're exactly the same size. So there's no worry about mixing them up, because obviously they're going back into the same seats. Now, I've looked at the seat in here, and it's just got a nice wear pattern to it. Nothing particularly serious. These things, you really have to kind of go some way to wear them out. Normally lack of lubrication, filling them up with grit, or not putting spaces into the outer axle on Range Rovers, as we saw with Project Southpaw. But really all I do is just put it into the seat, check it rotates backwards and forwards, and it does. It's got a lovely feeling to it. Okay? If you feel any grating or grit or nastiness, then the bearing is most likely going to need a proper deep cleanse. But this one is beautiful. Right, I know this thing's fed by the axle oil, but I do tend to give it a fighting chance of not running completely dry, just by smearing some grease over it, because I don't know when this car's going to be driven. Not going berserk with it, not lubing the entire thing in a particularly massive way. But as I wheel that around, I can see the inner race of the bearing is packing itself out now. Wipe it off the face there. Yeah, happy enough with that. That's good. Right, now, seal. This is something I do anyway, but it's something that was pointed out to me. It's a bloody good point, actually, is that you need to put the seal in level. If you don't put it in level, and you put it in on the piss, then of course it's going to be gyrating all over the fucking place, and it's going to wear itself out really quickly. So you've got to put it in level. It's not difficult, chaps. Right, this is one of the unobtainium. Exactly the same parts as the all makes. So when I look at this on the back here, I can see this EUS stamp, part number. All these markings are exactly the same as they are on the... is that EUS? My eyes aren't the greatest here. Could be a BJ something or other 8. I don't know. Anyway, it's a nice enough seal. I'm going to use it. So what you really want to do with this thing is kind of roughly line it up, and then let me get my rubber mallet, because I don't like using the nylon mallet on these things. Get Monsieur Tappy, and you just kind of want to really just get him over the lip. And if you bang too hard, then he will go in on the piss. But if I keep banging around the lip like this, then the hammer won't push it down any further than the lip. And that's gone in beautifully. Absolutely perfect. If I run my finger around the lip, the metal lip, and the seat that the bearing is, sorry, the seal has got, has gone onto, that's lovely. Now, the other thing you can use, I probably should use like this. I don't always like these. These are quite good because they just allow you to kind of muller it and put it in on the level. But you can't get that feeling. You can put them in on the piss, and you don't necessarily get that feeling that it's going in absolutely spot on. So if I was going to use this, I would use it onto the edges. But with a nice big soft face rubber mallet, there's no harm, as far as I can see, in doing that. These kits are available. Amazon, if they ever start shipping quickly again, which I hope they will, or other motor retailers, I think they might come from Amazon China. But anyway, they're very useful, those sort of things. Right, so we'll tip this over onto my clean face. Clean surface, I should say. Now, I've got the other bearing. This is the outer bearing, and it's got a spacer. We'll put the spacer there for now. Again, just check the bearing. No nasty grating. So we'll load them up with a bit of lube. No doubt there's going to be someone shouting at me saying, no, 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 you can just use axle grease, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you try pouring EP80 into one of these things. So I'll just use a bit of, this is lithium EP2 grease. So it will do, it will dissolve into the EP8, or sorry, EP90 I should say. Although I tend to use EP80-90 because it's what's generally on offer. EP90 is one of those funny things that I always seem to find difficult to get hold of. Now, where's my bloody cloth gone? I think there's all sorts of different brands as well on EP80-90, GL4, GL5. I think the manual says EP90 GL4 because that's what was available in 1980. Technology's moved forwards in greases and lubricants and so forth now. So I tend to use, let me just double check it might be a GL4. There you go, so it's a high point gear oil, 8090, and it's GL5 spec. The mileage these things tend to do, it's never going to do any damage. I've never ever found any damage in my dad's car, his Series 2.8, in the 22 years he's owned that car. 20, less than 22. 20 years, let's say. Right. This is ready to pop in now. So I won't lose the spacer because that's there. What we'll do, the other thing I like to do is just to put a little bit of oil around the seal, RF, for when it goes on. It doesn't, this is just on the lip of the seal. Just to give it again a fighting chance of getting in. Okay, let's relocate back to the axle again. Right, let's adjust you back in so you can see what the heck is going on. Oh! Right, Mr. Spacer can sit down there. No, he's going to sit inside the box. Okay, hub. Pushing him on, the bearing goes on. Keep pushing until you can actually see the hub bottom out at the, for now, bottom out right at the back on the back plate. And you know that the hub is correctly positioned. Then the all-important spacer goes on, and then we get the first of the hub nuts. Someone's been at this one with a centre punch because they found themselves having to take it apart but didn't have the correct box spanner, and there's no excuse for not having one of these things. They're like a tenner. For crying out loud. Get a box spanner. You don't have to annihilate these things. This one's not too bad. Okay, give him a little bit of a clean off. Let's pop him onto the thread. Bum, 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 bum. Could actually put the drum on at this point because all of this lot will operate because the drum goes around this face here. Now, although I've cleaned this face up, what I'm going to do, because it's a brand new drum as well, I will put just a little bit of anti-seize copper grease around here. Not going to go berserk with it, but I just want to make sure that this thing is not, the drum is not going to rust onto the hub. It's happened before, believe me. So we'll do this up, and we'll rotate the axle, hub, I should say, back him off a little bit. Let's just give him, let that grease work its way around the rollers, let the rollers centralise. Doing up. It's just the way I always do these things. Back him off a quarter of a turn, or sorry, quarter of a smidge. I mean, okay, I could use the dial gauge, but I tend to do these things by hand. See, I'm getting no play. Right, there's the play. Right, so you want just a modicum of play, but not a lot. I reckon that's about there. Okay, next thing we need to do is get a spacer. Now I'm not going to reuse the old spacer. The spacers, you tend to use two sides on them. So currently we've used that one and that one. So in theory you could use that one and that one moving forwards. But I tend to put these spacers on. Again, they're about 20 pence. It's not worth fucking around with. Let me go and get another spacer. If I can find one. Oh, here we are. And we're back. Right, new spacer, nice little tooth on it, position him over the top. Now, what I do tend to do to give myself a fighting chance with these things, because there can be a bit of a bastard to peen over, especially on the inner nut. So I'll get that roughly in place. I know roughly where I want the bend to be, and just start it off. But I might start that off a little bit more tightly in the vise. It's that sort of area. These are quite thick, these spacers. I've had other ones which are thinner. See, that one's thinner. Quite a tough old spacer, this one. Not spacer, what are you talking about, Richard? Lock nut. Let me just go and bend this back in 1 second. There you go, just putting a tiny little lip on it. It gives you a fighting chance of actually getting the thing to bend in properly. Now, before we go berserk on this, we need to put the outer nut on. Don't go medieval on the outer nut, because obviously the inner nut's still going to turn, but you want to nip it down such that the spacer's not going to move. Then it's time to go medieval on it. And all I want that to do is to lock against the flat. The outer one is a piece of piss, and I'll demonstrate, because what you do, tighten the nut up now that the inner nut is good. Check in for free movement, which he is. Outer one, nice big jelly. Push him out. You can tell when these things have been done when they've been up on a ramp, by the way, because they always do underneath. And they're a pain in the arse then when you're working on stands to sort them out, to take them off. Because you have to get underneath the car to get on, you bastard. I say this is easier. There we go. Probably help if I didn't have a 3 foot fucking jemmy. Get on it, you bastard. Goes. I'm not giving it a full swing, it was a 2.5 pound hammer. But that's that. Right, so we've got the hub nut on. There's no discernible play in there. So I'm pleased with that. Have I done something fucking stupid here? No, I haven't. Drive shaft. Brain wasn't working for a minute. Drive shaft. Longer splines go into the diff. There we are. That's in. And then Mr. Drive plate, which you're probably going to need a clean as well. There's a bolt seized into it as well. Let's go and clean this drive plate up and I'll come back. We'll fit the drum and the drive plate. and then we're done. Oh yes. Nice job, eh? Big job. That's the old. This is legendary on this car. There's actually a gasket on here. Whoever did this had a gasket. Obviously, you don't really use gaskets. There's quite a lot of shit on there though, so I'm going to give this a good clean off. Get that bolt out of there, which is rusted in. So they used a gasket, but they decided not to lube the bolts up. That's rusted in. We'll sort that out. That's not really going to be a problem. Okie dokie. And then have I still got the 5 bolts? That's the old. Right, there's the circlip. I've got brake screws. I've got 2 brake screws. It's enough. Just holds the drum in place. I thought I had 3 brake screws on this one, but clearly not. Right, clean this up, be back to you. Brand new drum, so obviously you would clean the inside faces of it, which you can see down here, nice and shiny, eh? And then, like I said, I just put a tiny smear of copperies on the jointed face there. Now, there is only one screw hole holding these drums on, so that makes my life a lot easier, doesn't it? Because I can only put one screw in. And I'll use that one. Go and get the impact wrench and knock that on. Oh, I pushed the bloody drive shaft in. How have I managed to do that? Right, okay, I'm going to need to get a bolt to pull the drive shaft out because I've not put the circlip on yet. Oh, what a knob. Going to be box of bolts. Box of bolts and impact wrench. Pause. Right. Oh. Dashing around this fucking workshop today, I don't know why. Right, so obviously the wheel needs to hold that tight. I haven't adjusted the drums yet, sorry, shoes yet, so it's going to move quite easy. Now, the thread inside here is a lot smaller. So on the Range Rover drive shafts, you just use one of these bolts, which I've got a spare from, but it's way smaller than that. So, simple solution. Magnet. Will a magnet work? Yes, there you go. Magnets, is there anything they can't do? Right, circlip. Arr. Right, and then circlip goes over the top of the drive shaft without pushing it in too far. We've already been there with that, haven't we? Da, 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 da. Right, that's almost there actually. Yes, yes, that looks like it's all gone in. Mr. Torchy McTorchface says he thinks so. Let's pull him out again. Lucky magnet gone, there's the magnet. Yes, it's in. So that circlip's in. It's not often you use a hammer for a circlip, but I know. Welcome to my wonderful world. Fucking lockdown bastard world. There we go, he's in. I'm happy with that. Right, now last thing is the old dust cap. So you shouldn't get a lot of oil coming past this. I think on the front hubs there was a kind of foam seal that goes over the outside of that, but on this one all we've got is an O-ring around the outside of the drive plate. So all we do then is tap him on. Coils up there in anticipation. Ready for that first start. Pleased with how this wing's gone on. The other thing is probably, I mean, okay, there's been some comments about the different shades of green here. I didn't have, when I first kind of was getting ready to paint this bulkhead, I did not have access to my RAL template, my colour gauge. I thought it was back at home, and I'm 200 miles away from home at the moment, and if anyone's ever asked their wife or their son to go into the shed and look for something, you know exactly where it is, and it just ends up in a RAL, so I didn't bother. And I couldn't take a panel out to the paint shop because of lockdown, and it's not, even I wouldn't deem it as an urgent job. So I had a tin of the olive green Land Rover colour. Is it olive green? Bronze green, deep bronze green. There you go. And so I thought, fuck it, I'm going to paint it that colour, flat cap colour. Look at that. So I thought, well, I'm going to paint it, bollocks to it. I can't be arsed with it. However, in hindsight, it would appear to have been the wrong colour. Now, I don't think that's actually too much of a problem here. Because let's face it, the rest of the paint on this car isn't exactly showroom fresh, is it? Let's face it. Pretty much the whole thing is like this. And the door. So really, this thing is a patina queen, especially when all the galv cappings are original like this. I mean, look at these galv cappings. I'm going to clean up the rust on this edge here. Just clean it back carefully and put some rust treatment on there, because the rust is not the galv, the rust is actually the panel that was above it, the door top. Clean that off and really preserve the patina on these galv cappings, because look at them. And I really don't like it, and I'm probably going to offend a couple of people here, but I really don't like it when people paint galv capping silver. Because that sort of shit, that is perfect. That is Land Rover. I mean, look at that beautiful galv capping. It's discoloured, and even up here, even on the roof galv capping, it's all original. Why on earth would you want to paint that silver? Why on earth would you want to paint a Land Rover? And look at it. Lovely. Absolutely perfect. So, this to me is ideal. This mix of colours. Okay, so when the bonnet goes on, and I'll put the bonnet on in a second, it's going to look a little bit garish. So I have ordered a litre of this paint according to the RAL index. And I could end up spray painting over the top. It's not going to take an awful lot to mask up the screen. And with the driver's wing, I'll mark over the top of the engine. So basically paint down to that level there. So everything that you can see with the bonnet closed then looks a little bit less in your face. Or, I don't know, comments below. What do you think I should do? The neighbour that had a serious interest in this car, unfortunately, has been furloughed. That's a ridiculous word, isn't it? Anyway, he's been furloughed and he's self-employed, and there's not been an awful lot of help for people that have been recently self-employed. Kind of up shit creek without a paddle. A little bit like me. I've only been running a business for a year and a half, and this isn't even a business opportunity. This is not a business task. This is me kind of paying my board and keep to my father. However, there's another seriously interested chappie up in the northeast who can see the potential in this vehicle, as can I. I mean, it's a beautiful machine. I love this thing. I really do. I can't wait to give it a run around the block. Obviously, once the current climate is over, I could take it for an emergency shop down to the shops, couldn't I? Fill the back up with toilet rolls. Back is currently filled with crab. All needs clearing out. Oh, there's a hole up there. I think someone's had a beacon on this thing or something. May well have had an amber beacon on the roof. I don't know. I don't know any of the history of this car. I really don't. I'm pleased the wing went back on all right. No real difficulties there, just used new fixings, new spire bolts, etc. You see I've drilled the holes through there, which I will rust treat. I will treat those before I put the heater back in. But that's another thing I could do today. I could do the heater. Thermostat and heater. And I need to prime the door tops as well. And protect this. Oh, why would you not love it? It's beautiful. That's why I didn't even bother putting the new lock surrounds on. Because you put the new lock surround on. I did on one door, the driver's door, I think I put the new lock surround on. There it is. It's a brand new lock surround. And I thought, that just doesn't look right, does it? That's why I left all the others as they were. I need to adjust this door catch. This door catch is now not pulling the door in tight enough. I can pull it in a little bit further. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right, that's enough of the self-flagellation, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know, I might have to edit that out. Heater motor, I'll rebuild that on the bench. Perhaps we'll have a chat while I'm doing it. I do need to cut a chunk out, but we'll cover that in a minute. We'll do that in a minute. Because otherwise what I tend to do is I tend to rabbit away on the video telling you all the shit I'm going to do, and then I do it and I end up having a world of a job to try and edit it all out so I can... that was fucking blue now. Oh, Bluegate is gone. I'm not doing Bluegate anymore.